The way you talk to yourself is the way you shape your world. It's the foundation upon which your actions are built. The silent force that determines whether you rise with confidence or collapse under the weight of your own doubts. And yet, most people speak to themselves in a way they would never dare speak to someone they love. If you listen carefully to your own inner dialogue, you might realize that you are not your greatest supporter. You might be your worst critic. The voice in your head whispering that you are not enough, that you will fail, that you are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. But what if, for just 3 days, you changed that narrative? What if you spoke to yourself with the same conviction, the same encouragement, the same unwavering belief that you reserve for those you care about most? You see, words are not just words. They are the programming language of the mind, and every thought, every phrase, every self-directed whisper carves a deeper groove into your subconscious. If you tell yourself you are weak, you will act weak. If you tell yourself you are incapable, your actions will mirror that belief. But if you dare to speak to yourself in a way that lifts you up instead of tearing you down, you will begin to see something extraordinary happen. Your world will shift. Not instantly, not magically, but undeniably. We live in a world that often reinforces self-doubt. From childhood, many of us are conditioned to downplay our strengths, to avoid appearing arrogant, to second-guess our own instincts. And so we learn to apologize for our existence, to shrink ourselves to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain us. We learn to look at our reflections with disappointment rather than pride, to measure our worth by the standards of others, to internalize every failure as proof that we are not enough. But that is a lie. It is a lie you have told yourself, or more likely, a lie someone else told you that you unknowingly adopted as your own. Imagine for a moment that you were free of that voice. Imagine that every time you looked in the mirror, instead of seeing your flaws, you saw your potential. Imagine that instead of saying, "I can't do this," you said, "I am learning and I will succeed." Imagine if instead of tearing yourself down for past mistakes, you reminded yourself, "I am growing and I am becoming better every single day." There is a reason why some of the most successful people in the world use affirmations. Muhammad Ali didn't just say, "I am the greatest," because it sounded good. He said it because he knew that in order to become the greatest, he first had to believe it. And if he didn't say it, if he didn't declare it with conviction, then who would? No one is coming to tell you that you are good enough, that you are worthy, that you are capable. That responsibility belongs to you. Your words are your compass. And if your compass is pointing towards self-destruction, that is exactly where you will go. But if your words point you towards strength, resilience, and belief, your actions will follow. Science backs this up. Studies have shown that self-affirmations rewire the brain, reducing stress and improving performance. The simple act of telling yourself a different story changes not only your emotions, but your physiology. You breathe differently when you believe in yourself. You walk differently. You make decisions differently. But this is not about standing in front of a mirror, chanting empty words that you do not believe. This is about conscious, deliberate transformation. It's about catching yourself in the moment when the old script starts to play. The script that says you are not good enough, that you always fail, that you will never change, and replacing it with something better. It's about consistency, about repetition, about making a choice every single day to rewrite the story you tell yourself. And it won't be easy. Your mind will resist, because the patterns you have lived with for years will not disappear overnight. You will catch yourself falling into old habits of self-criticism, of doubt, of insecurity, and that is okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is to pause, to recognize, to redirect. Because here's the truth. You are listening. Even when you don't think you are, your subconscious is always listening. And if you constantly tell yourself that you are not enough, that you are destined for failure, that you are unworthy of love, your subconscious will take that as fact. But the opposite is also true. If you tell yourself that you are strong, that you are resilient, that you are capable of overcoming anything, your mind will believe that too. And when you believe it, you will act accordingly. You will take chances you never would have taken before. You will carry yourself with a confidence that others will feel before you even speak. You will attract opportunities because people are drawn to those who believe in themselves. And most importantly, you will change how you see yourself. And when that happens, the entire world changes with you. So for the next 3 days, I challenge you, talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love. Be kind, be patient, be encouraging. When doubt creeps in, silence it with certainty. When fear tries to take hold, replace it with faith. When you feel like giving up, remind yourself that you are stronger than you know. 3 days. That is all it takes to begin rewriting the script. And once you see the power of your own words, you will never speak to yourself the same way again. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, but the problem is that most people never learn how to use it properly. They drift through life, letting their thoughts wander aimlessly, reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. They wake up each morning and allow their minds to be filled with doubt, hesitation, and fear, never realizing that these thoughts are not just passing feelings. They are training sessions. Every single thought, every belief, every sentence you repeat to yourself is like a rep in the mental gym. And whether you realize it or not, you are training something. The question is, what are you strengthening? Are you building a mind that supports you? Or are you reinforcing the very chains that hold you back? Imagine walking into a gym, picking up the heaviest weight you can find, and trying to lift it without ever having trained before. It would crush you. You wouldn't be able to move it, and you might even injure yourself in the process. But that's exactly what people try to do with their lives. They want confidence without training their minds to be confident. They want success, but feed themselves a steady diet of self-doubt. They want discipline, but repeat over and over again, I always fail, I never follow through, I don't have what it takes. And then they wonder why they never get stronger. What you say to yourself matters. It matters more than you think. Words are not just sounds, they are signals to your subconscious. They shape how you see yourself, and how you see yourself determines what you become. If you tell yourself, I'm not good at this, your mind will ensure that you never are. If you say, I don't deserve success, you will sabotage yourself at every turn. But if you start saying, I am capable, I am learning, I am becoming stronger, something incredible happens. Your brain starts to believe it. And when you believe it, you start acting like it. Some people hear the word affirmations and roll their eyes. They think it's nonsense. Some kind of feel-good fantasy that doesn't actually do anything. But those same people are constantly using affirmations. They're just using them in the wrong direction. Every time they say, I'm not smart enough, that's an affirmation. Every time they say, I'll never be successful, that's an affirmation. And those negative affirmations are doing exactly what they're designed to do, reinforcing a belief system that holds them back. The truth is, your brain is always listening, and it is always learning. The more you repeat something, the more deeply it becomes ingrained. That's how the mind works. That's why elite athletes use affirmations before they step onto the field. That's why top performers visualize their success before they achieve it. They are training their minds for victory before they even begin. Most people don't realize that their thoughts are a choice. They think their inner dialogue is just something that happens, something they have no control over. But the truth is, you have control over what you say to yourself. And once you realize that, everything changes. You can train your mind the same way you train your body. You can replace every negative thought with a powerful one. You can stop repeating the lies you've been telling yourself for years and start building a new identity, one that actually serves you. But just like in the gym, it won't happen overnight. You can't lift a single weight and expect to be strong. You can't do one workout and expect to see results. It takes repetition, it takes effort, it takes showing up every single day even when you don't feel like it. The same goes for your mind. At first it will feel unnatural. When you've spent years criticizing yourself, telling yourself you're not enough, saying the opposite will feel strange, but that's only because you haven't trained those muscles yet. And just like any other muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The key is consistency, not just saying positive things once or twice, but making it a habit. When you wake up in the morning, you decide how your day is going to go. Before the world has a chance to shape your thoughts, you shape them yourself. You tell yourself who you are. You tell yourself what you're capable of. You say it with certainty, even if you don't fully believe it yet, because belief is built through repetition. Confidence is built through practice. And success is built long before it ever shows up in your reality. Some people wait until they feel confident before they start saying confident things. That's backward. You don't wait until you're strong to start training. You train to become strong. You don't wait until you're successful to start thinking like a successful person. You think like one first, and then your actions follow. That's how it works. You tell yourself, I am disciplined, even when you're not yet. You tell yourself, I am resilient, even when you feel like giving up. You tell yourself, I am a winner, even before you've won. And if you do it long enough, you become it. People think their circumstances shape their mindset, but it's the other way around. Your mindset shapes your circumstances. Two people can be in the exact same situation. One rises and the other crumbles. What's the difference? The way they think, the way they talk to themselves, the way they choose to interpret their struggles. One sees an obstacle and says, this is impossible. The other sees the same obstacle and says, I'll find a way. Which one do you think will succeed? Which one do you think will grow? Your words are your foundation. If your foundation is weak, everything built on top of it will collapse. But if your foundation is strong, nothing can shake you. And the best part, you control it. No one else can decide what you say to yourself. No one else gets to dictate your internal dialogue. That power belongs to you. And once you take control of it, you take control of everything. So here's what I challenge you to do. For the next 3 days, treat your mind like a gym. Every negative thought, replace it with a stronger one. Every self-doubt, crush it with an affirmation. Every excuse, eliminate it with conviction. Tell yourself every morning, every night, and every time you need to hear it, I am strong, I am capable, I am becoming better every day. I will not quit. I am exactly who I need to be. Say it even if it feels strange. Say it even if you don't fully believe it yet. Say it until your mind starts to listen. Because once you train your thoughts, your entire life changes. And when you master the way you speak to yourself, there is nothing that can stop you. You are not stuck. No matter how deeply ingrained your habits are, no matter how many years you have spent walking the same path, thinking the same thoughts, and repeating the same mistakes, you are not stuck. You are simply following a pattern, one that has been reinforced over time, one that feels permanent only because you have never tested its limits. But patterns can be broken. They can be rewired. They can be reset. And once you realize that, once you truly grasp that your mind is not a cage but a tool, everything changes. People carry their past like a weight, as if every mistake, every failure, every regret is welded onto them, impossible to remove. They say, "This is just who I am," as if their identity is set in stone, as if the person they are today is the person they must always be. But that's not true. The human brain is malleable. It rewires itself constantly. It adapts, it learns, it grows. And if you give it the right signals, if you direct it with intention instead of letting it run on autopilot, you can reshape your entire reality. The problem is most people don't believe that. They have lived inside their own limitations for so long that those limitations feel like laws of nature. They have repeated the same negative thoughts for so many years that those thoughts feel like the truth. They say, "I can't change," but what they really mean is, "I have never tried long enough to see if I can." Because the truth is, you can change. You can rewire your mind, reset your patterns, and reignite the fire inside you, but it won't happen by accident. It will happen because you decide. 3 days. That's all it takes to start the process. Not to finish it, not to master it, but to begin. And beginnings matter. The first step, no matter how small, is the proof that change is possible. It is the evidence your mind needs to see, the signal that says, "We are moving in a different direction now." You must understand something. Your brain does not care if you succeed or fail. It does not care if you are happy or miserable. It simply follows the patterns you give it. If you have spent years telling yourself that you are not good enough, your brain will accept that as fact. If you have spent years avoiding challenges because you are afraid of failure, your brain will reinforce that avoidance until it becomes automatic. But the moment you interrupt the pattern, the moment you make a different choice, your brain takes notice. It says, something is different. And that is where the shift begins. Most people think that transformation requires some massive earth-shattering event. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect motivation, the perfect circumstances. But that moment never comes. Because transformation is not one big moment. It is a series of small, deliberate choices. It is the decision made over and over again to act differently, to think differently, to be different. And it is the decision to put your mind to work being the person you want to be. And if you commit to that decision, if you give yourself just 3 days of relentless focus, you will see the first signs of change. And once you see them, you will never be the same. Rewiring your mind begins with awareness. You cannot change what you do not notice. So for 3 days, I want you to pay attention to your thoughts. Listen to the words you say to yourself. Catch the automatic reactions, the negative self-talk, the fears that creep in without invitation. And every time you notice them, interrupt them. Do not let them run their course. Replace them with something better. When your mind says, "I always fail," stop it and say, "I am learning and I am improving." When it says, "I am not good enough," replace it with, "I am capable and I am growing." At first it will feel unnatural. Your old thoughts will try to push back because that is what they are designed to do. But the more you interrupt them, the weaker they become. The more you replace them, the stronger the new ones grow. This is not wishful thinking. This is how the brain works. Neural pathways are like roads. The more you use them, the wider and smoother they become. The less you use them, the more they fade. You are not just thinking new thoughts, you are physically reshaping your mind. But rewiring is not enough. You must also reset. Reset your actions. Reset your habits. Because a changed mind with unchanged behaviors will always fall back into the old patterns. For 3 days, I want you to do something different. Anything. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Wake up earlier. Take a cold shower. Say no to something you would normally say yes to out of fear. Say yes to something you would normally avoid out of doubt. Prove to yourself that change is not just an idea, it is an action. And finally, reignite. Reignite your ambition. Reignite your drive. Reignite the part of you that wants more, that dreams bigger, that refuses to settle. Because that part of you is still there. Maybe it has been buried under years of disappointment. Maybe it has been silenced by failure. But it is there. And all it needs is permission to wake up again. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack belief. They fail because they let their past define their future. But you are not your past. You are not your failures. You are not the mistakes you have made or the doubts you have carried. You are the choices you make now. And if you choose right now to think differently, to act differently, to demand more from yourself, you will be unstoppable. 3 days, that's all I'm asking for. 3 days of disciplined thought. 3 days of deliberate action. 3 days of refusing to let your old patterns dictate your future. And when those 3 days are over, when you see that you are capable of change, when you feel the first sparks of transformation, you will realize something powerful. If you can change in 3 days, you can change in 3 weeks. If you can change in 3 weeks, you can change in 3 months. And if you can change in 3 months, you can change your life. The fire inside you has never gone out. It may have dimmed, but it has not died. And now is the time to feed it, to fan it, to turn it into something unstoppable. Rewire your mind. Reset your habits. Reignite your fire. And once you do, you will never look back. People think discipline is a burden. They think of it as restriction, as something cold and mechanical, something that takes away freedom. They imagine it as chains, rules, a life devoid of pleasure, of spontaneity. But that's a lie. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is the proof that you care about yourself enough to demand better. It is the ability to say, I will not let myself become weak, lost, or broken. I will do what is necessary, even when I don't feel like it. Love is not indulgence. It is not allowing yourself to do whatever you want in the moment, knowing full well that it will lead to regret later. That is not love. That is neglect. If you truly loved yourself, you would not make choices that harm you. You would not betray yourself with excuses, with laziness, with a constant cycle of guilt and failure. No parent looks at their child and says, do whatever you want. Eat whatever you like. Skip school if you feel tired. Quit when it gets hard. That would be a terrible parent, because real love does not coddle, it strengthens. Real love demands growth. And if you can love someone else enough to want the best for them, why would you not love yourself enough to do the same? The truth is, discipline is the purest expression of self-love. It is the moment you stop waiting to feel good before you act and start acting so that you can feel good. It is the realization that your future is being built right now, in every decision, in every habit, in every small moment when no one is watching. And if you do not take control of those moments, if you do not set a standard for yourself, then you are not living. You are drifting. People spend their whole lives waiting for motivation. They wait for the right mood, the right energy, the perfect conditions. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather, and if you let it dictate your actions, you will never achieve anything of value. The people who succeed in this world, the ones who rise above their circumstances, who build something great, who stand strong in the face of adversity, they do not rely on motivation. They do not rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. They show up whether they feel like it or not. They do the work when it's hard. They push through, not because they always want to, but because they have made a commitment to themselves. And they refuse to break it. This is the difference between those who stay stuck and those who break free. The ones who stay stuck are always making deals with themselves, always finding ways to justify why today is not the right day to start. They tell themselves, tomorrow I'll begin. But tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year. And one day they wake up and realize they have wasted their potential, not because they weren't capable, but because they kept choosing comfort over growth. The ones who break free, they decide. That's it. They don't wait for the right time. They don't negotiate with themselves. They make a decision and they honor it. They say, this is who I am now, and then they act accordingly day after day until it becomes their reality. That is self-love. That is how you build a life you are proud of. Discipline is not just about work. It is about how you treat yourself in every area of life. It is about your health, your relationships, your mind. It is about recognizing that every action has consequences, that nothing you do is neutral. Every choice either builds you up or tears you down. And the more you let small, lazy decisions slide, the easier it becomes to let big ones slide too. The more you say, just this once, the more you train yourself to accept mediocrity. And mediocrity is not neutral, it is decay. Imagine if you treated yourself like someone you were responsible for taking care of. Would you allow that person to waste their time, to eat food that poisons them, to sit in front of a screen for hours, numbing their mind, drowning in distraction? Or would you push them to be better? Would you make sure they move their body, train their mind, fed themselves with strength instead of weakness? Would you let them skip the hard things just because they didn't feel like doing them? Or would you remind them that their feelings are not in charge? Their commitment is. Most people live their lives as if they have infinite time. They act as though they can waste years, even decades, and still have enough left to do what they were meant to do. But time does not wait for you. The clock is always ticking, and every second you spend indulging weakness, making excuses, putting off what matters, that is time you will never get back. And one day you will wake up and realize that the life you wanted, the person you could have been, is gone. Not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't demand it from yourself. The good news is, you can change right now, this second, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. You can decide in this very moment that you are done making excuses, that you will no longer negotiate with weakness, that you will hold yourself to a higher standard, not because anyone is watching, not because anyone is forcing you to, but because you deserve it. And yes, it will be hard. Change is always hard. The first few days will feel unnatural. Your old habits will try to pull you back. Your mind will resist. But that resistance is proof that you are moving in the right direction. It means you are breaking free from the old version of yourself, the one that settled, that coasted, that accepted less than what you were capable of. And if you push through that resistance, if you hold the line and refuse to break, something incredible will happen. You will start to respect yourself. You will start to trust yourself. Because nothing builds confidence like discipline. Nothing makes you feel more powerful than keeping your own promises. And once you realize that you are in control, that you are capable of more than you ever believed, you will never go back. Discipline is not suffering. It is not restriction. It is the key to freedom. Because when you have discipline, you are not controlled by your impulses. You are not at the mercy of your moods, your cravings, your distractions. You are in charge. You decide who you become, and that is real power. So make the decision now, not tomorrow, not later, now. Choose to be disciplined. Choose to love yourself enough to demand more. Choose to be the person who shows up, who does the work, who refuses to settle. And once you do, your entire life will change. Because discipline does not take from you, it gives. It gives you strength. It gives you confidence. It gives you the ability to look in the mirror and say, I built this. I became this. And I am proud. The way you begin your day is the way you live your life. The moment your eyes open, you are faced with a choice that will set the tone for everything that follows. Do you wake up with purpose, with discipline, with the intention to take control of your life? Or do you hit snooze, delay, drift aimlessly into the day, allowing life to push you around like a leaf in the wind? That choice is not small. It is everything. Because if you cannot control the first hour of your day, what makes you think you can control anything else? People wonder why they feel lost, why their days slip through their fingers, why they never seem to have enough time, enough energy, enough motivation. But the truth is, it is not about time, it is about discipline. It is about the first battle you fight every morning, the one against comfort, against hesitation, against the part of you that would rather stay in bed and let the day decide who you are instead of the other way around. And if you lose that battle, even in the smallest way, you set yourself up to lose the rest. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Most people don't plan their mornings, they survive them. They wake up already behind, already stressed, already in a state of reaction instead of action. They reach for their phones before they even take a deep breath, before they even acknowledge their own existence, as if the outside world is more important than their own mind. They scroll through distractions. They let the opinions and chaos of others flood their thoughts before they have even taken control of their own. And then they wonder why they feel scattered, overwhelmed, disconnected. But what else would you expect? If you do not direct your mind in the morning, something else will. There is a reason the most successful people on the planet have morning routines. It is not because they have more time. It is because they refuse to let their time be stolen. They know that the first hour of the day is sacred. It is the foundation. And if the foundation is weak, everything built upon it will crumble. If you wake up in a rush, in chaos, in distraction, you carry that energy into everything you do. But if you wake up with intention, with focus, with discipline, you carry that too. It is not complicated. Winning the morning means taking ownership. It means deciding that the first thing you do is not reactive but deliberate. It means setting aside time for yourself to move, to think, to reflect, to plan. It means resisting the pull of immediate gratification, of ease, of distraction, and instead choosing something harder, something better. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to get everything right, but you do have to make a decision. Are you in control of your life, or is something else? The first thing you do in the morning should strengthen you, not weaken you. It should make you more capable, not more distracted. That means movement. That means order. That means setting your mind on something meaningful before the world tries to drown you in triviality. It means taking even 10 minutes to remind yourself of who you are and what you are aiming at, before you let the noise of the world tell you what to care about. People think they need motivation. They don't. They need structure. They need discipline. Because motivation is fleeting, but structure remains. If you build a strong morning routine, one that is non-negotiable, one that grounds you, you will not need to rely on feelings. You will simply do what is necessary. You will wake up and move even when you don't feel like it. You will set your focus even when your mind resists. And over time, that will become your nature. The problem is, most people never give themselves the chance to feel what life is like on the other side of discipline. They spend years in the same cycle. Waking up late, rushing, consuming distractions, feeling overwhelmed, never realizing that there is another way. But if you commit to winning your mornings, even for a few weeks, you will feel it. You will see the difference. Your mind will be clearer. Your body will be stronger. Your days will have more order, more purpose, more momentum. And once you taste that, you will never go back. There is a reason warriors train before dawn. There is a reason the most driven people on the planet rise before the world demands their attention. It is because the morning is the one time of day that is yours. Before the emails, before the meetings, before the distractions and obligations, it is yours. And if you do not use it wisely, if you waste it, you are giving away the only time you truly own. And what happens when you take control of your mornings? Everything changes. Your confidence grows because you prove to yourself every single day that you are in charge. Your focus sharpens because your mind is no longer clouded by randomness and noise. Your energy increases because you are no longer dragging yourself through the day, reacting, scrambling to keep up. You move with direction, with force, with momentum. Winning the morning is not about productivity for the sake of productivity. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not drift. It is about choosing every single day to take control instead of being controlled. It is about proving to yourself that you are not weak, that you are not lost, that you have the power to shape your own existence. And the more you win your mornings, the more you win your life. But it starts now. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. The next time you wake up, before you do anything else, stop, breathe, decide, ask yourself, who am I going to be today? Set your mind before the world does it for you. Move your body before you let the weight of the day settle in. Set your intention before distractions steal your focus. And do it again the next day. And the next. Until it is no longer a choice but a way of life. Most people never take control of their mornings, and so they never take control of their lives. They spend decades waiting for motivation, waiting for the right moment, waiting to feel ready. But the ones who win, they do not wait. They decide. They rise, they move, they act. And because of that, they build the kind of lives that others only dream of. So the question is simple. Will you be one of them? Will you take control? Will you demand more from yourself? Or will you continue to drift, letting your days, your time, your potential slip away? Win the morning and you will win your life. Lose the morning and you will lose yourself. The choice is yours and you must make it now. People think success is one big moment. They imagine that one day everything will suddenly fall into place, that the breakthrough will come like a bolt of lightning, that the weight they carry will disappear in an instant, that they will wake up transformed. But that is a lie. No great life is built in a day. No great change happens overnight. The truth is that success is not a single event. It is the result of countless small wins repeated over time until they accumulate into something unstoppable. Every great structure begins with a single brick. And yet, when people set out to change their lives, they don't think about the first brick. They think about the entire building. They stare at the mountain instead of taking the first step. They overwhelm themselves with the size of the journey, and because they cannot see a way to leap to the top, they do not begin at all. But the people who win, the ones who rise above their circumstances, who build something meaningful, who create real change, they do not wait for the mountain to shrink. They simply take the first step. Small wins matter because they build momentum. When you prove to yourself, even in the smallest way, that you can take action, you create evidence of your own capability. You shift your identity from someone who hopes to someone who does. And that shift is everything. Because success is not about waiting for the right conditions. It is about creating progress where you stand right now with whatever you have. Most people think they need motivation. They don't. They need a win. Something, anything that reminds them that they are in control. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real. Maybe it's making your bed in the morning when you'd rather leave it messy. Maybe it's showing up at the gym even when you don't feel like training. Maybe it's writing one page of a book you've been avoiding, making one phone call, drinking water instead of soda, resisting the urge to scroll mindlessly through distractions. None of these things will change your life in a single moment. But done consistently, they will. Because small wins compound. Each one builds on the last. They create proof that you can do hard things, that you can follow through, that you can keep a promise to yourself. And once you start seeing yourself as the kind of person who takes action, who makes progress, who moves forward no matter what, that identity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't have to force yourself to change anymore. You simply become someone who does what needs to be done. The mistake most people make is underestimating small wins. They look for dramatic transformations, for instant gratification, for proof that their effort is paying off immediately. And when they don't see it, they quit. They tell themselves, it's not working. This isn't worth it. But real change is invisible until suddenly it's not. You don't notice yourself getting stronger after one workout, but keep going, and one day you look in the mirror and realize you are not the same person anymore. You don't notice the effect of reading 10 pages a day, but after a year, your mind is sharper, your perspective broader. You don't notice the power of waking up early until you realize that over time, those extra hours have put you years ahead of those who wasted them. Everything compounds. The small things that seem insignificant today will be the things that define your life a decade from now. The habits you build in the quiet moments when no one is watching will determine whether you rise or fall. And the truth is, there is no such thing as neutral action. Everything you do is either moving you closer to the person you want to become or further away from it. Every decision, no matter how small, is a vote for the future you are creating. The problem is most people don't track their wins. They don't acknowledge progress unless it is massive, unless it is undeniable. And because of that, they rob themselves of the momentum they could have had. They overlook the power of showing up, of being just 1% better today than they were yesterday. But the ones who understand this, the ones who recognize the value in even the smallest victory, they keep going. And because they keep going, they win. The key is to stop waiting for motivation and start creating it. You do not need to feel ready to begin. You do not need perfect conditions. You just need to take action, no matter how small. And when you do, something incredible happens. Action creates energy. Energy creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. And before you know it, the thing that once seemed impossible is just another part of who you are. But it starts now, not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, now. The smallest thing you do today will be the thing that sets everything in motion. Maybe it won't seem like much. Maybe it will feel insignificant. But do it anyway. Get up, move, do the thing you've been avoiding. Keep a promise to yourself. Because once you do, you will feel it. You will feel the shift. The moment where hesitation turns into action, where self-doubt turns into proof, where inertia turns into momentum. And if you can do it today, you can do it tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. Most people will never understand this. They will continue to wait for the big break, the perfect moment, the life-changing event that will finally make everything fall into place. But the ones who win, the ones who build the kind of lives others only dream of, they know the truth. Small wins create big victories. And now you know it too. So what will you do? Will you wait? Will you keep making excuses, keep telling yourself that change is too big, that the mountain is too high? Or will you take the first step? Will you demand more from yourself? Not in some distant future, but right now, in this very moment. Because in the end, the life you want is not built in a day. But if you win today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day, one day you will look back and realize that you have won your life.